paper, they were talking about this area, and they were talking about they're starting to call it the Northern Everglades again. When I was a kid, that's what this was known as the Northern Everglades. When Disney World came in north of us up here and built Disney World, he didn't want the name Disney World associated with the Everglades because he was afraid people wouldn't come. They would think that with snakes, gators, mosquitoes, bugs, it was, we wouldn't be, he wouldn't bring people in here. So he actually coined the phrase Central Florida. But this was when I was a kid. Now they're going to start calling it back to the Northern Glades again, I understand, according to what the paper said anyway. My name is Captain Carl Johnson. I'm a U.S. Coast Guard licensed master captain. I was born and raised right here in Florida. I've been running these Swampton Woods up here for almost 50 years, so I don't think we're going to get lost out here today. I'm going to take y'all on a real interesting trip. We're going to ride around Lake Hall, look at all of the sites, and then eventually we're going to cross the lake, and I'm going to leave the lake, and I'm going to take you up into the real swamp of Florida. So you're going to get to see Florida like very few people get to see it, where only the smaller airboats can go. So you're going to get to see a whole lot of things. As we ride around today, I like to encourage everybody to look up and down and all around, because you never know what you're going to see or where you're going to see it. If you just look straight ahead, you're going to miss about 75% of what there is out here to see. Some of the things, by looking up in the sky, I've already pointed one out to you, are bald eagles. Florida has the second highest population of eagles in the United States, second only to Alaska. Lots of bald eagles out here, and Polk County has the heaviest population of eagles within the state of Florida. So there's a lot of eagles out here. Hopefully we'll get to see some up pretty close today.
Are we in Polk County?
We're in Polk County.
Yeah.
Also, by looking up, we're going to see some hawks. We have a couple of beautiful hawks, a red-shouldered hawk or a ring-tailed hawk. It's a beautiful bird. And then out on the lake, we have just a multitude of wading birds out here. For instance, we have blue herons, egrets, ibises. We have loons, rails, moorhens, limpets, wood ducks, wood storks. There's just all kinds of wading birds out here.
What are the white ones that we saw?
Well, we got a white, we have the egret, and we also have an ibis that's a white bird.
Oh.
And it's several different varieties of both of those. But the easiest way to remember, in most cases, not always true, but basically you'll be correct. If you see a bird with a long, and he's got a hooked bill on him like that right there is going to be an ibis. If you see one with a straight beak, that's going to be an egret. Except for the cattle egret. The cattle egret has got a hooked bill on it. So basically you'd be right if you said, if you guessed it out, you'd probably be right. So we got all kinds of, we got some extremely rare birds out here also. Not only are the eagles, they're pretty populated now, but we have a snail kite that is located out here. These birds are extremely rare. If we see one, I'm going to point it out to you. And remember, if I tell you that's a snail kite, look in between the wings on the bird, and you'll probably see a hump and a couple of tentacles coming out. If you see that, that bird is implanted with a radio transmitter. These birds are so rare, they track them with radio transmitters. They call them a snail kite because they dine almost exclusively on snails. We have a snail in here called an apple snail. Get one back here. The size of that
snail.
That's a big snail. That's an apple snail. That's what these birds eat mostly. That's why we have such an abundance of wading birds in here. A lot of them eat these snails. And this snail is not a native to Florida. We do have an apple snail that is a native in Florida, but it's a much smaller snail. This one came from Asia, probably got into the system through aquariums or whatever, somebody dumped an aquarium. But they don't hurt anything. They're a great source of food for the birds. As we ride along today, any dry areas you see, there's one right there. You'll probably see a bunch of these shells laying out. That's where the birds have been feeding. See the shell right there?
Yeah.
Okay. So, very interesting critter these snails are. They're one of the only snails that lays their eggs out of the water. They actually crawl up and lay their eggs up on the vegetation or the cypress trees or whatever, and to keep the fish from eating them.
These are cypress trees?
These are cypress trees.
Why do they root so wide? For strength?
Well, nope.